This video is going to be all about RGB lighting and specifically how to use it in a practical and a realistic way in your short films or feature films or whatever you're trying to make. RGB lighting is kind of a weird topic because you honestly don't see it too much in big budget films unless it's like Blade Runner or Spring Breakers or La La Land uses RGB lighting. But you see RGB lighting mostly in music videos, dancing videos, experimental videos, even commercials use a lot of RGB lighting. The reason for that is because in that kind of content, you don't always need the most realistic, practical look. And what I mean by that, and I'll show you guys right now. So say that we turn this lamp to a natural, realistic tungsten color. There's no motivation for this green RGB to be in this scene. Say this shot was set up for an actual film. This doesn't look right because there's no motivation for it. And unless you pre-plan or have a crazy location or cool sets that have like a neon lighting kind of thing, it's hard to find practical ways to use RGB lighting in your films and anything else. So that's what I wanted to do this week, was kind of challenge myself to find realistic ways that I could stick RGB lighting into a scene that looks like it's made to be there. Just really quickly, I want to go over the color science, the basics of color science with RGB lighting and the color wheel, whatever. So as cinematographers, it's incredibly, even if you're not working with RGB lighting, color science and understanding how pairs of colors work together, it's really important as cinematographers to understand that. Pretty much in the world of color science, there's three main color combinations that you want to know as a cinematographer, and the first one is going to be complementary colors, the second is analogous colors, and then the third is monochromatic colors. So for example, this scene right here that you see, this is technically a complementary color combination. So I put an orange gel on a daylight source to key light me, and then I made the lamp in the back green, so those colors would be opposite of each other on a color wheel. As a lot of you know, probably the most used color combination would be your orange teal look, which is kind of what we're going for here, but we use green instead, so it's not completely complementary colors. So we can actually switch this live to a more blue teal look, and instantly you can recognize that you've seen this kind of look before, and this is incredibly popular to have a blue and orange color combination. So if we go to this red, this would technically be an analogous color combination, and this is just one of the tools and information that we as cinematographers have to invoke a mood in whatever we're trying to shoot. If we go from red to orange, this would technically be a monochromatic color pair. So let's go back to our greenish teal. So if there's something in our scene that we want to motivate with RGB lighting, we can pick these different color combinations to emphasize and invoke different moods in our films. Like I said, for this video, I wanted to challenge myself to find ways where I can use RGB lighting in a practical sense that looks realistic. And this first shot, I'm gonna be honest, I kind of completely failed in my opinion. If you guys can't tell, this was a shot that I replicated from Last Night in Soho, and there's countless reasons why these shots don't match up, and I just had so much trouble finding the right composition to get, and I was lacking in space. If you guys can't tell, I use this mirror for this shot behind me, and it's obviously like super thin, so I couldn't get wide enough on my camera to get a good frame, and the lighting's just kind of weird, but you guys can get the idea from this shot using RGB lighting in a practical sense. So what I did was I took the Amaran light that I have, the F21, and I put it to like a club light mode, and I put it on a C-stand above me, and then I used the Aperture MC to just fill the room a little bit more with the club lights. Anyway, for the key light, I used like a really bad book light setup. I basically just had like a reflector panel hanging on a light stand. It was super messy, but honestly that's the thing that came out the best in my opinion with this shot. You can tell that the key light on her face and my face are very similar, and the quality of light is very similar. For the second shot, in my opinion, this shot turned out way better. I wanted to do a car scene that was like cold and dark and moody. With this shot where you only can see the key light, this is why I love this light so much. For some reason, the quality that comes out of this panel is amazing, and it makes everything look super cinematic, I guess, and it just makes everything easier because the quality that comes from this panel is already super nice and you don't have to manipulate it that much. And if you have to, it's super easy because everything's Velcro. Anyway, the street light in the back is the 300D, and that's getting chopped up by a cookie in between the window, and I know you can see the cookie behind the window, which I didn't realize when I was shooting it because I shoot these alone and there's only so many times I can go back and forth. Whatever, I think this shot turned out really cool anyway. And then obviously the last thing would be the MC I used for that red, that little hint of red on the right of my face, and that's what I mean by using RGB lighting in a practical way. No, there's no source that you can see in this frame that's emphasized, that's motivating that red, but to me, I guess, it still looks like it belongs in that scene. It could be a tail light or a sign next to the car or something. What I hope to get out of this video is to inspire some of you guys to try this yourself and break out of your comfort zone and try to make different scenes with RGB lighting that look realistic, because it's not very easy, and after this week I really realized like how much practice I needed with this. Before I close this whole video out, obviously I want you guys to know you don't need to buy a fancy light that can do RGB mode or whatever. You can go on Amazon and order just party gels, and that changes any sort of tungsten or daylight source into any color you possibly want for like 20 bucks. So you can also use that as well. If you guys end up trying anything with RGB lights, please send it to me. My email is obviously in my channel description or whatever. So if you guys do any cool things with RGB lights, please send it to me and I'd love to see it. Anyway, that's going to do it for me this week, and I'll see you guys next week.